Yeah, and you're saying that you can find something for 400 a month where you're at right there?
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah. So behind where I live, there's yeah, which is probably I don't know, a couple of hundred meters to the sea. There's some older apartments, more the socialist style or whatever, but still nice area. And I think that those would be probably around about 350 to 500 a month.
Do they have views too?
Most of them do. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. All right, so today we are heading over to the beautiful, amazing, incredible country of Montenegro. It's a gem, it's a hidden gem in Europe with my new friend Peter Flynn, who's sitting out there in Kotor Bay. Peter, that is one of the most amazing backdrops I've ever seen on this podcast. Thanks for doing the podcast. How you doing?
You're welcome. I hope I'm lit up okay. Actually, I'm just I thought I'd get a nice kind of setup so you and your viewers could actually get an idea of what it's like in Montenegro. Doing great. Lovely to meet you virtually, and yeah, and be on your show. Hopefully, I can help some of your viewers with some advice in Montenegro. And
Yeah.
I took it's good timing, so you can just watch the sun setting. So
Oh, that
hopefully,
is
my
just,
lighting will keep up with everything here.
I am so envious. We should be doing this in person over there. I wish I were there, buddy.
You can do it.
We'd have a couple beers with that setting and we'd have the camera set up. It would be perfect. So, Peter, tell us, I mean, Montenegro is just incredibly beautiful. A lot of times people don't think about it to move there. The Spain, Portugal, Italy, France, they're t the main, spots in Europe that people really consider, and Greece. But
Mhm.
Montenegro's so beautiful. So give us a little bit of backstory about you, where you're from, and how you found Montenegro, how you landed there.
Sure. I came here about 19, nearly 20 years ago. And the idea was I wanted to be in the UK. I wanted to flip houses, and the market had kind of gone out of that. Also, there was just too much competition in it. And a bit of a eureka moment. I heard something which was saying that the property prices in Eastern Europe, and I know we're not in Eastern Europe, we're in Southern Central Europe, but feels like Eastern Europe. The prices in Eastern Europe would catch up with Western Europe. And for me, that was a eureka moment because my impression was that that would probably mean 1,000% price increase, from places like Sofia or Belgrade in
Hmm.
comparison to London, if you look at these major cities. So I then started to kind of do some research. There was very little online 20 years ago, so I was reading guidebooks. I was very used to. I traveled a lot, so I was very used to guidebooks. So I was carried around four or five guidebooks with me, and the one on Montenegro, even though it was the worst guidebook, um, was the one that kind of kept me coming back to that book. And the reason is that it reminded me so much of New Zealand. And New Zealand has such a successful kind of tourism there. And for me, tourism and real estate, they kind of go hand in hand. The more kind of bums on seats or people on beds or whatever, that means that the kind of the more demand there is for real estate. So I was interested in real estate.
Hmm.
Another thing that was very interesting to me was sea to ski. So it kind of knocked out places like Croatia. I looked at Bulgaria, but Bulgaria, it didn't seem so great to me. And other places, when I looked into it, kind of Slovenia and Serbia, obviously landlocked and things. So the obvious draw was Montenegro, and especially when you have all these kind of amazing natural beauty and also beauty of the towns like Perast and Kotor, which are UNESCO protected sites. So lots of beauty in many different ways.
Hmm.
As you can see, this kind of nature here, you could have, the development could double here, but it's not going to affect the nature. The skies are still going to be blue, the sea will be blue, the mountains will be green, which is interesting actually because the mountains are green here, even though it's called Black Mountain, Montenegro.
Hmm.
Whereas the other countries up and down, Croatia and Albania, the mountains are a lot more bare. So you actually have a
Yeah.
very kind of lush, kind of green mountains here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I came here with a 3-year plan. And after 2 years, after I got here, there was a boom going on because it was just before independence. And after 2 years, I thought long and hard about where to go to after Montenegro. And I couldn't think of anywhere. I was looking, looking at the Mexicos, Costa Ricas, Australia, Africa, wherever. I wasn't really limiting myself. And I thought, in terms of lifestyle, cost of living, and opportunities, I couldn't really think of a better place to go to. So I decided to stay, and I was glad I did because I met my wife here. We now have a little boy. We have a business in real estate, and so on. So it was a good move, yeah. So, and I've lived here in Montenegro longer than I've lived anywhere in my life, actually. So although sad to say, my local language skills aren't so great, but anyway.
Well, that's great, Peter. Thanks for that. I mean, where do you live in Montenegro? Where are the spots that typically retirees, expats move to when they go there? And are you living in one of those areas? I know Kotor is a big city,
Yeah,
a very beautiful city that a lot of people are attracted to, and you have the backdrop of that. But where do
yeah.
you
This
currently?
is this is Kotor Bay. I'm about 4 miles from Kotor in an area called Dobrota.
Oh,
So this area here, it's a big kind of body of water. If you look on the map, it's like a disjointed clover leaf. So
mhm.
I'm in the kind of the Kotor Bay part of that clover leaf. There's also Tele Bay, which has become extremely popular thanks to there's a very high-end luxury marina that's been developed there over the last maybe 14 years, 16 years, called Porto Montenegro. That's probably spearheaded the luxury tourism in Montenegro. And beyond that, you have Lustica Peninsula, which is amazing. And then you have Lustica Bay, which is another billion-dollar plus kind of luxury resort. And in the kind of the bit between Tivat Bay and Herceg you have another bay. You have another billion-dollar kind of resort. So there's a bit of a theme from what I'm talking about there. There's a lot of high-end kind of luxury tourism that's moved to Montenegro, and that's
Mhm.
really sparked up a lot of interest. So going back to what you were saying earlier, that people would maybe consider places like Greece or Spain or Italy or where Ireland or so on.
Yeah.
I think that all of these things in the last kind of 15 years have really helped put Montenegro on the map. I mean, you get a brand new article out and they always say like undiscovered Montenegro and so, so
Yes.
it's been undiscovered for the last like 20 years as far as I'm concerned. But for a lot of people it is new. But what's happening in Montenegro is the network effect. People are coming here on cruise ships. It's very popular with the cruise ship now. Behind me, it's they call it the fjord. Technically it's a rear, but they call it a fjord. So people are coming here on the cruise ships. They're going, oh my God, that's amazing! It's one of the nicest countries we've been to on our cruise,
Yeah.
Mediterranean cruise. And then they come back. They come back for a 2 week holiday. Then they're here, go, oh my God, let's buy an apartment while we're here or a house or so on,
Mhm.
and so on. So the real estate development and the country as a whole has developed quite a lot in the last 2 decades.
Okay, great. Okay, so let's dive in for the people who are interested in potentially moving to Montenegro. I'm guessing you got in on the Euro pass before the Brexit took place. So, but do you know, like for like U.S. Canadian citizens that are interested in moving over there, what the visa requirements are in Montenegro?
Yeah, it's very simple. Montenegro is open to foreign investment, and it's pretty much open to every nation in the world. I think there's 3 countries that they kind of block, but that's probably through pressure from other big kind of bodies, I don't know, IMF or something like that, so NATO or something. So Americans and Canadians are more than welcome here. There's 2 common ways of getting residency here. If you want to have permanent residency, uh, it's a bit like Spain. I was just talking to a client earlier on. They have a house in Spain. They said, "Look, we're going to have to go back because we need to be there." The Spanish, if we want to have permanent residency, they don't like us to be out of the country more than 10 months in a 5 year period. And it's the same in Montenegro. So if people want permanent residency, it's treated as a serious thing, and so they can get it in usually 2 ways. One would be through buying property.
Okay.
So that would qualify them for residency, and they could qualify 2 people in general or the family, so husband and wife. So they'd buy something 50-50, or through having a company, and then that would give them a residency through being a company director and so on. And obviously, the spouse can get the residency of the other person that has the ownership of the company. Yeah.
So what would be is there a minimum property purchase that you have to meet to
No,
qualify for
no,
residency? Okay, so
there
you
is.
can come over
Yeah.
there and buy a $50,000 farmhouse and they're going to give you residency?
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
Wow.
It's something that people they've talked about. At the moment, there's absolutely nothing. So yeah, there are people who just want the residency. So you can buy cheap property in Montenegro. In this area, it's not so cheap. So but this is the kind of more high end. This is comparable with the Lake Comos or Lake Gardas, Lake Genevas, kind of not south of France, but it is kind of getting up there. So this
Mhm.
is this kind of Boka Kotorska, which is collectively the whole area that I talked about earlier. The Kotor Bay, Tele Bay, Herceg-Novi, Lusica. The Boka Kotorska has started to get a reputation for kind of high end tourism. It's still a lot less expensive than um, let's say Dubrovnik, which is kind of the next city along in Croatia. It's pretty much half price,
Mhm.
but not necessarily cheap. There are cheaper places to go to, but
Mhm.
it's inexpensive for Europe. It's a good place to live in Europe, and
Mhm.
also because it's not in the Schengen zone. Some people like it.
Yes.
Not everyone can afford this, but some people like it because of this kind of a 90 out of 180-day rule. Yeah, because they can dip in and out of Montenegro. So they don't necessarily have to own a property. If they want to, let's say, spend some time and let's say slow travel, they could be here for up to 90 days and then leave for 90 days and then come back or so on. They could be here for like spring, leave for the summer when it's too hot for a lot of people, come back in the autumn and so on. So,
Okay.
and then, leave in the winter and summer, when the weather was not as good for some people. So,
So you could work almost like the visa runs where you can head to the border, go for a weekend, get away, and then come back and they stamp it for another 90 days?
no, it's 90 days out of 180. So if you wanted to stay longer, you can do this kind of stay 90 days and then leave for 90 days and then back for 90 days. So that's a slow travel thing. The alternative obviously is the getting the residency
Hmm.
through property ownership or through a business. So there are
Okay.
the digital nomad things, but obviously that kind of requires foreign income paid by a foreign business, a minimum salary of, I think it's about 2,000 euros per month or something like that.
Okay.
So, they do want legitimate kind of digital nomads. So people who are working for Google, but they decided to work in Montenegro instead of San Diego or something. So
Do you know what a retiree would a minimum income requirement for a retiree would need to be to?
I don't know, but one of my
Okay.
friends, she's been living here as long as I have, and she's a retired lady. Where's she from? She's from all over. She's kind of Swedish, French, lived in I think Ecuador or something. So, and she's managed to kind of stay here for 18 years or something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. So
Okay.
she hasn't had any problems. So she does own a property, but maybe that's it. I know that the kind of the minimum requirements for money in the bank when they're looking for the qualifications of, do you have enough money to live it? It used to be something like 3,600 euros. So that was like working on the basis of 10 euros a day. I know it's higher
Mhm.
than that, but it's not a lot.
Yeah.
So it's a reasonable amount. It is affordable to live off a US pension, which I think, if I'm right, is about $1,500 per month, maybe $2,500. I don't know. I got that figure from somewhere. I'm not
Mhm.
sure if I'm right or wrong with that. Or maybe that's an average. So I think that once you've covered your accommodation costs, that's quite a reasonable amount of money to spend. If you're renting, I know you're kind of interested about sort of renting. I don't know if you have one of those questions for later on. We
Yeah.
can talk about that now.
Yeah,
Uh,
sure. Let's dive into renting, but I'm more
yeah,
interested to like
yeah,
where are these people renting in Montenegro? What, for a lot of people, they want to get out of the kind of the grind, the hustle and
yeah.
bustle. If they can walk to a cafe, if they can walk to a restaurant, if they
Mhm.
can walk down to the promenade where they can take a look at this bay,
Yeah,
and find something, fairly reasonable. Give us an idea what we're talking as far as real estate costs and rentals in those
sure.
areas.
Um, I think, like I said, in this area, so this kind of Boka Kotorska, it's a bit more expensive. If you're looking for long-term rentals, Kotor Bay, actually, bizarrely enough, is actually a little bit less expensive than Tivat. Tivat has become quite a hub for a lot of people. I think that's mainly because there's a lot of commerce going on there. A lot of entrepreneurs have moved there. There's the big international schools are there. So for the younger entrepreneurs, so on. But maybe for the older kind of people, they may actually like Kotor Bay more. And I would
Mhm.
say that I'll break this down to a price per square meter. I think your viewers should be looking at something around about 10 euros per square meter per month.
Okay.
So that would mean a one bedroom apartment of 40 square meters uh, could be 400. It will actually be between 400 and 600. So let's talk about 10 euros to 15 euros per square meter per month. That's going to be the realistic price in this area. If
Okay.
you go to Herzegovina, uh, that's less expensive and it's a really beautiful place. So Herzegovina is a really cool place to be. It's a bit more open. You don't have not enclosed by these kind of big mountains. For some reason I can't do the mirror image here. You're not enclosed by these big mountains, so it has a more of a feeling of openness. It's in general kind of south or west facing, and prices are lower there. It's also a good place for a medium to long term real estate investment. So if you've got people who want to move from the States to Montenegro, the real estate prices are lower,
Mhm.
but you could have the European Union accession, in which case Herzegovina, in my mind, will be the place that will actually have the biggest uplift in price. Uh, that's simply because it's the place that's actually stayed lower while there has been a boom in real estate, especially in this kind of Boka Kotorska area that I'm talking about. And that's simply because it's less connected to Kotor, Tivat, Budva, Lusticer, and so on. These areas are really kind of well interconnected, whereas Herzegovina is a bit out on its own. But it's quite a big place. And it's a really, really beautiful. It's got a lovely old town, got lovely kind of bars and restaurants, and actually not far from Dubrovnik either. And
Mhm.
actually, I think it's closer to Dubrovnik Airport, Chilipi Airport, than Dubrovnik is. Yeah, so that's also great value. And I would say that there you're probably going to be budgeting maybe 8 euros to 12 euros per square meter per month for the rental. So you're going to get better value there. And
Okay.
also, a lot of people now, if they want to save money, they're going down to Bar. I would say Bar is more of a newer town. It's a port town, big wide boulevards. It's becoming very popular with a lot of expats now, international people. So you're actually getting quite a neat crowd there, and with that comes quite a lot of diversity. It's really interesting, So you'll actually have people going there, opening up new bars and restaurants and new services and so on and so forth. So I think that's another place to watch. And I
Okay.
would say that the prices down there again would be even cheaper than Herzegovina. You should be looking at sub 10 euros per square meter. So, probably 6 to 10 euros per square meter per month for your rent. So if you're looking for 100 square meters, then times it by 100. If you're looking for 40 square meters, and so quick tip, actually, if you're thinking in square feet, then just times it by 10. So,
Yeah.
1 square meter is roughly 10 square feet. So,
Hello, I'm Ray, and today I have an announcement to make. I now offer one on one personalized consulting to help you navigate that journey of moving abroad. I know the idea of moving abroad can feel daunting and overwhelming. I've been there, and I talk to expats weekly who have successfully made that difficult transition. So if you're ready to make that move, but you're not sure where to start, you're feeling stuck, you have some questions that are unanswered, you can schedule a meeting with me to get the support and the guidance you need. You can click the link in the video description below to schedule a time to meet. I look forward to connecting. Now let's get back to the video. It sounds like in Herceg-Novi you can get rentals starting at about 360. Sounds like
yeah.
bar. Sounds like bar. You can get them starting at about 200. These are really desirable
Yeah,
areas. And
probably 250 or something like that. Yeah. So it depends on
okay,
people's budgets. You look around and you'll find something there.
because I'm so interested in where you're sitting, and I want that
Uh-huh.
view, and I want to be able to walk down. Is that a cafe or a restaurant that you're at?
No, no, it's my it's my balcony. Yeah, it's
Oh,
where I
you're on
live.
your
Yes,
balcony.
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
geez. Now you're really rubbing it in. Oh,
Sorry.
man. So if
Yeah,
I
I
wanted to,
came here, like I said, nearly 20 years ago, so I did get like the pick of the crop. Yeah,
no,
so I
this is
was
it's
very lucky.
beautiful.
Yeah.
So if I
Yeah.
wanted to rent something right there where I could walk down and see that view or maybe even have a view, what are you looking at rentals for there currently?
And it's probably going to be around about 900 euros a month, for a two-bedroom apartment. And we're second line to the sea. This is really, really prime location. And in the whole of the bay, this is one of the best locations in the whole of the kind of Kotor Bay. So it's very highly desirable. You can get a lot less expensive, I'd say. So it can go down from 15 down to 10 euros a square meter. So
Yeah, and you're saying that you can find something for 400 a month where you're at right there?
yeah, it's possible. Yeah. So behind where I live, there's yeah, which is probably, I don't know, a couple of hundred meters to the sea. There's some older apartments, more the socialist style or whatever, but still nice area. And I think that those would be probably around about 350 to 500 a month. Yeah. So
Wow.
yeah,
With
I'm not
do they have
really. We don't do much in that area, but if you look around, there's places. Yeah, because there's also, if you think about the minimum wage here, it's just risen from 450 to 600 euros per month. So the minimum wage is small. So it still has to be kind of affordable for locals to live here and so on. So there
sure.
are those places. Yes,
Do they have views too?
most of them do. Yeah, yeah,
Wow. That's
yeah,
really amazing to have this kind of a view for that price.
yeah. It's phenomenal.
Unbelievable.
So yeah, that's why I didn't leave. My plan was to be here for 3 years, and then I couldn't think of anywhere better to go. So I stayed. So here I
Yeah.
am.
How big is your place?
70 square meters.
Okay.
So
Is
it's
that a
70
two
square
bedroom?
meters. It's two bedrooms, two bathrooms, and about two balconies. And we're second line to the sea. We used to live first line to the sea, but then I found being in a stone house, first line to the sea. I'm not going to unsell the place I just talked about. I didn't get much of a sense of the sea, but here you can see I'm on a balcony. I'm overlooking the roof of the house in front of us. It's quiet. We have the access of the main road behind us. We have good parking. The only thing I'd mention to your viewers is parking. Parking is an issue in places like Montenegro. So always be make sure that you can get good parking or there's really good kind of access to on street or off street kind of parking. So yeah.
Or don't do the car and just get the scooter.
Yeah, do you know, here actually it's either a scooter or electric bike. I've got friends who have a car and so on. And the guy, I think he's in his 70s, he's out with his paddleboard and his golden retriever sits on the paddleboard with him and he goes out. And he said him and his girlfriend went out and bought electric bikes. He said it just changed their lives because they'd go, let's go to blah 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 over there, whatever. So which is they just wouldn't have bothered before because it would have meant getting in the car or parking or getting in the traffic or so on. And they just just get an electric bike and then they zoom around the place. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty cool. One nice thing about Montenegro, I think I need to maybe mention it, is that nothing is really far away. So a lot of the journeys that you want to get to a place of interest. So for me, for example, for me to get to Kotor, it's 10 minutes away. If I want to get to Tivat, okay, without the traffic, it's 20 minutes away. If I want to get to
Mhm.
Lushica Beach, it's 30, 40 minutes away. If I want to get to Budva, it's 30 minutes away. If I want to get to Herceg-Novi, it's about an hour away. Yeah, so everything is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 minutes away, an hour
Mhm.
away. So if you are here in the summer, the traffic really gets clogged up. But again, if you have a scooter, electric scooter, electric bike, bicycle, or if you run or whatever, it's fantastic. Just below me here, I don't know if you can see here, there's like a little roof, and below me there's a little lower road, and
Mhm.
people just they just walk along there, promenading. Walking is a very popular pastime here.
Mhm.
So, and if you imagine that's free socializing, so if you haven't got any money and you want to kind of socialize, you go for a walk, it's healthy for you. And then they bump into some friends, they stop, they have a chat, they carry on walking and so on. They're normally walking with a friend and so on. So,
Mhm.
and I think that's going, you read a lot about how the Mediterranean diet is one of the best like that you can have, and it's just a balanced diet, but
Sure.
meat, fish, and vegetables, and so on. But perhaps it's the kind of Mediterranean lifestyle as well, which really helps with the longevity of people in this area. Blue zones,
Mhm.
they call them, I think, where they're having decent, balanced diets, and they're just going for a nice little stroll in the evenings. Yeah, so
Mhm.
and why wouldn't they? Yeah, so
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Are you close to in walking proximity to like pubs or cafes or restaurants? And is there a beach down
Yeah,
there that you can just kind of hang out and go swimming?
yeah, 45 seconds away, there's a beach in front of our house. And there's lots of little tiny beaches, and there's lots of what people call pontoons or little jetties. So I found it a bit bizarre when I got here. People were just lying on these concrete jetties. Now I kind of get it because it's just a nice, clean, dry area. So there's
Mhm.
lots of little tiny beaches. When I say tiny, they're maybe, how big would it be? 20 meters wide, and they're kind of between jetties. And In terms of pubs and bars or beach bars, there is one, two, three, four, five um, within I do the walk, I take my dog, five within a 10-minute walk here. So
Oh, that's
quite nice for
perfect.
me. I just take my dog for a walk in the morning. And then, some are doing food, some aren't, some are open all year, some aren't, and so on. So,
Yeah, that's all you need. That's like perfect.
yeah.
Fantastic. And then Peter, you're involved in real estate. So you sell real
Uh-huh.
estate in Montenegro.
Yeah.
For people that are going, I mean, you got me excited because just the views, but I mean, Montenegro has always been on my short list of destinations. What can you buy a property for and access these kinds of views? What are they starting at in and around these areas?
Cost of real estate, again, I'll break it down to price per square meter. In this Boka Kotorska area, you're probably now looking at, for something of a decent quality, 3 to 4 or maybe even 5,000 euros per square meter.
Yeah.
Um, Not as cheap as it used to be. Maybe down in Bar, you're probably looking down at probably 1,800 to 2,800, 3,000 euros per square meter. But
Mhm.
for the 3,000 will get you the nicer quality things and so on. So you're going to get more for your money down here. But I would say that you're actually, you do get what you pay for. So this is the nicest area. It is commanding the highest prices. Interestingly enough, the my biggest clientele at the moment are Americans. So I think there's a lot of Americans that just want to have a less expensive lifestyle. They don't want to be bothered so much. Some people will call it freer lifestyle. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think people kind of come to Montenegro and they actually feel, you can see their shoulders kind of relax and so on. The air is fresh. It's funny actually. We get a lot of people from Dubai as well coming here, and they go, "Oh my God, the air is amazing! It's not great, just air. What are you talking about?" It's like, no,
Yeah.
no, no. You have to understand that in Dubai, it's full of, like dust and smog and
Yeah.
pollution and so on. Yeah,
Yep.
so
What is an average cost of an apartment going for? What's the average cost?
okay, okay. So I would say a one-bedroom apartment now, an average cost is probably something like 150,000 euros.
Okay.
So let's give that's a middle kind of level. And that would be the same in Kotor or Tivat. In Herceg Novi, that might be 100 or 120,000, and the same in Bar, maybe 80 to 120,000 in the Bar area there. I'm guessing at those prices, but
Yeah.
those are prices that would make sense to me down there. So yeah,
Okay. And so 150 for where you're at with views.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So that's pretty impressive still. I mean, you can't get anything in California with views unless you're a millionaire. So I mean, to get something
Yeah.
for 150,000, so that's a one bedroom. What are two bedrooms going for?
It's the same pro rata, yeah. So I would say 250,000 for a two bedroom. So
Okay.
yeah, so depending on the size. Insurance, quite cheap. I would say that a lot of people are paying kind of contents insurance for an apartment like ours. It's probably 150, 250 max euros per year for our contents insurance. It might be a bit more for the building insurance, but maybe the same. So we're looking at maybe 300 or 400 euros per year to do the contents and the building insurance. Um, our rubbish collection, 10 or 20 euros a month. I think 10 euros a month. Our water is about 10 euros, 15 euros per month. Our electricity, we're high users. We have a child, as I mentioned to you before. So every day the dishwasher's on once or twice, the washing machine's on once or twice, the dryer's on once or twice every single day. And our electricity bill is probably around about 140, 150 euros per month. Wi-Fi, I have the biggest package that you can get. Be careful what I'm saying here. And that is, I think we pay something like 40, 45 euros per month.
What's a cell
That's
plan go for there?
from 15 euros a month, 15, 20 euros a month, depends
Okay.
on what you want. So, yeah.
All right, let's move on to restaurants. What do you pay for a Mon Pa meal, a good Montenegro meal?
Uh, I mentioned I had a 5-year-old, so I rarely eat out these days. But let's say we went to not a Moranpa. We went into to the best place recently because we found ourselves without a child for 1 or 2 nights as our son went away on a school trip. Uh, I had the duck breast, and that was 34 euros, and that was at the really kind of prime place, so on. So that was that. In general, at a restaurant, you're probably paying for a meat dish around about 10 to 15 euros. Um, the meat can be super tasty here. You have something which is called under the sash, so it's like a rotisserie style thing. It's actually something which is cooked in like a bell jar and in the kind of charcoal, whatever embers and things like that. You know, so it's very very delicious food.
Mhm.
So and today, for example, I just stopped off at a roadside place. I had a chicken leg and which came with some cabbage and onion and some cream and a big kind of like homemade kind of bread bun, and that was 6 euros,
Wow.
char grilled and so on. Very, very tasty, kind of like prepared for me and so on. And I had a coffee and a fizzy water, and the coffee and fizzy water was 3 euros 50. So, and again, going one place I haven't mentioned about kind of rents and so on and so forth. If you go to places like Bar or Herzogenaurach or Podgorica, which may suit some people. Obviously, it's inland, but things are less expensive there. Things are Kotor is the most expensive place, so
Hmm.
because of tourism and also traditionally it's been a bit of a snobby area, so traditionally it's
Sure.
been quite expensive anyway. So
Yeah, yeah. Okay. All right, great. So let's move into transportation, getting around. We kind of briefly touched on that. Sounds
yeah,
like you have a vehicle. Some people have these electric bikes and scooters.
yeah.
Um, do they have a public transportation system there?
Just buses.
Buses. Okay.
Yeah, so there's no metro, there's no trains. Well, there is a train actually. The train goes from Bar in the south to Belgrade. So there is, let's say, kind of international train. It's slow and very beautiful. It's nice to do that journey once, but it's very slow. So the I don't think it's actually the train is actually not that slow, but it tends to then stop in a place for a couple of hours. So
Hmm.
so public transport, reasonable. I think from where I live, I think that I might be wrong, but I think that the bus ticket price is, let me give you an idea. Podgorica, Podgorica to Kotor, which is a like an hour and a half, 2 hour journey, is 6 euros. If I
Okay.
go from the local bus, if I go local bus to where I live to Kotor, which is like 4 miles, I think that's about. It used to be 70 cents, but let's call it a euro now. Maybe it's a euro,
Okay.
so quite cheap. And actually, you could walk, or as I said, if it's getting expensive, then get an electric bike or a scooter or so on, or a little moped. Mopeds are great. Traffic has become really quite bad in the summer here. So actually, there's a real advantage to getting kind of bicycles, electric bikes, or scooters, or, mopeds and things. So
Mhm.
that make a lot of sense.
All right, great. So that's very reasonable. Let's jump into things to do. What do people do around Montenegro? What do you do for fun?
Yesterday, I went up to the mountain about an hour away, and I went on an enduro bike, and I had an enduro lesson. That's an example. Yeah, so I went dirt biking. The trails around here are absolutely fantastic. So imagine, literally there is the sea, and over there is the mountains. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so to go on the mountain trail, whatever. So that all sea would then include things like hiking, whitewater rafting, skiing in the winter for some people, or snowboarding, sailing. Obviously, all the kind of the water sports, fishing. You know, if
Mm-hmm.
you haven't got much money, but you get a fishing rod, and yeah, you'll be the friend of all the local cats forever.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously swimming and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, all sorts. You know, it's I think that it's kind of really opened up. This um, I'm a big hater of the word expat, and I never really want to consider myself as a living in an expat community. But I would say that 'cause to me it has certain connotations, and I would say that in Montenegro you have an international community. I wouldn't say it's expatty. Expat to me sounds like like the tennis club or the golf club, and like
Mm-hmm.
gin and tonics, 5 o'clock and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But it's kind of quite international. So you might have some great place there, yoga instructors from Ukraine or whatever it is. Yeah, so doing all sorts of things. There's a lot of talent that's also moved to Montenegro over the last few years. So it's really quite interesting. We've had the opposite of the brain drain. So you've actually had a lot of really kind of smart young entrepreneurial type of people kind of moving to Montenegro, bringing new energy to the place. So.
Mm-hmm. All right. So weather. I mean, the weather looks ideal. You're in a t-shirt outside.
Yeah.
Does it get cold out there? How cold does it get?
You have 270 days of sunshine, which roughly equates to about 9 months. So 3/4 of the year is sunny, and then 1/4 of the year is cloudy, rainy. Temperature in December, for example, sorry, I only do Celsius. It's will probably is around about 50 to 60 Fahrenheit on average. Yeah, 50 to 60, probably around about 60 Fahrenheit. So it's about 12 degrees, 14 degrees on a daily basis. In nearly 20 years, I think I've seen snow here twice. So what you will see is these mountains behind me is that you'll see them snow capped. But obviously, because it's the ambient temperature here is quite warm, as the snow starts to come down, it just kind of melts,
Hmm.
and so it doesn't get too cold here. So,
So the last thing we have is healthcare. What do
uh-huh.
people do in Montenegro for healthcare? This is particularly concerning for any retiree considering moving there.
Healthcare, I would say, is more than adequate. Yeah, so I don't think it's you go to America, a lot of it is state of the art, but you won't, like fall ill and have a $500,000 or $2 million bill, to think
Yes.
about if you don't have kind of insurance.
Hmm.
You'll be taken care of. If you do need something really specialist, I think it's kind of maybe good advice to get this kind of international insurance, which might cost you, I don't know, $1,000 or $2,000 a year. But if you want to pay for that privilege, but again, probably a lot cheaper in Europe than it would be in the US. And then you have obviously amazing centers of excellence in Austria, Belgrade, in Montenegro itself. You've got some great private hospitals here. I'll give you an example. So, okay, it was 5 years ago when my wife gave birth. We went to a private hospital, and we were actually covered in insurance, but we kind of paid the bill and then claimed the money back. So to be in a private ward, we had three nurses that were kind of full time. There was nobody else on who was pregnant, but there could have been maybe two or three other kind of people there. So and then to have the delivery, which was like at 2 o'clock in the morning with a surgeon, anesthetist, and blah 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 whatever. So all of that, 3 nights in the hospital was 2,500 euros. Yeah, so I don't know what you pay in the States there, but I think you could times that by 10 or 100. Yeah, so
A
yeah,
lot more. Yeah, a lot more.
yeah,
Wow, that's amazing.
yeah, and that's in a private place. So if it
Hmm.
comes to it, But then again, yeah, we got that on insurance. We could have actually just gone to a local hospital, and all of that would have been free. Yeah, but then we'd have been in wards with other people, and so on and so forth. Yeah, so
So
yeah,
Montenegro does have a public healthcare system that expats
yeah.
can access.
You can access it, but you do pay for it. But again, you pay a nominal amount, way lower than you would do in the States as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
so you do pay a higher rate than the Montenegrins would pay. Yeah, so if the Montenegrins aren't covered by health insurance, then they do pay a certain amount.
Mm.
But it's not a lot. Yeah. So.
Okay. Well, Peter Flynn, thank you so much for being a part of the podcast and sharing all this information about Montenegro and all the tips of living and moving there. I appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. Well, I hope you liked my backdrop as well. And I'm getting a bit of a kind of hot spots here. I'm just trying out some new lights. So forgive me for
I love
if
the
it's
I love the
yeah
backdrop. I want to move
yeah
in. Do you have an
yeah
extra
yeah.
room?
yeah. We don't, but I do know a rental at the moment. It's free, but it might be going in a few days or whatever. So yeah yeah.
All right.
But yeah, there's lots of cafe bars by the water where we can just hang out and have a coffee and do some podcasts. Maybe be good.
Yeah, I'd love to. Well, thanks again, Peter. I appreciate it, and I'll talk to you soon.
It's a pleasure. Have a great day, Ray.